Hi everyone, how are you today? Thanks for joining. There's quite a bit of you that registered. We're letting everyone get in before we get started. I see a bunch of familiar faces and names. Hi Arthur, how are you? David, thanks for joining. Ed, nice to see you here. Ed, I know we're so close, we can't even see each other in person. Now we have to see each other via a webinar, but thank you for joining. Kristen, nice to see you here as well. Thanks for joining. All right. Awesome. Let's let a couple more minutes. If everyone wants in the chat to put where they're from, let's get some activities going. This is obviously from Boston Tech Week. For Boston Tech Week, we are going to be showcasing a little bit about our platform, what we built. I'll do. It's more intended to be interactive. This is not a pitch. This is really an educational series, and I'll be allowing most of you guys to see behind the curtain, behind the veil, behind overall how we run things at the agency and where we're overall headed. So for all of the new faces that I haven't met before, thanks for coming. This is Autonomous Agents Real Pipeline, a live demo for B2B founders and revenue leaders. It's part of the Boston Tech Week series hosted by A16Z. So what I'll be doing today is I'll be going through a little bit about who I am. If you don't know me, I'm Hamlet Azarian. I've been doing marketing. I've been a growth leader for a while, coming on a little bit over 26 years, so dating myself. I started Azarian Growth Agency in June of 2020. So for those of you familiar with the OpenAI timeline, that's exactly when they released their APIs. So we've been AI first from day one, and I like to say we're agentic first now. We've managed, we got the numbers a little bit backwards, well over 50 million in ad spend and counting. The clients we've worked with have gone and raised additional capital of well over 300 million. We are AI native, and what we are going to show you today is some of the things we do within our agency and how we go about doing it specifically for B2B. So a little bit about our ecosystem. We have A Growth Academy, which we teach the future growth marketers of tomorrow. We've held curriculums and courses, and we also offer classes on Udemy. We have A Growth Lab webinar, which is what you are part of today. We've been hosting, I think this is number 17, if I'm not mistaken. So we've been part of Tech Weeks from the beginning. We host different webinars. We go behind the scenes, and I'll talk a little bit about the ones we have. And I also have a podcast where I interview different leaders, different thought partners. It's where I actually learn. And finally, we have the agency as a whole. So some of the webinars we've done early on, we've done server-side tracking. We talked about generative AI when it first came out and what it was. And this one, I showed my son what Gen AI is and different campaign marketings. And this SEO evolution one, which I enjoy a lot, is I get into the patents of Google. And this is before, GEO and ad became a big thing, and I talked about how to actually optimize and be ready when the geo conversion occurs. In content marketing, the AI era, I was talking about how to write quality content at scale and to make sure you have a brand voice and use data. And then, of course, state of AI. At that point, I was talking about where it was headed and where it was going. So for today's webinar, what we're really going to do is we're going to make it overall super interactive in a way. I'm going to be showing you behind the curtain of exactly an autonomous agent platform, what it is, how it's different than just using ChatGPT or Claude, and really showing you the impact it can have for your organization and also the transformational change most people are going through. I think McKinsey has a report that 60% of the jobs of today will be gone, and jobs will be changing and evolving. This will be a little bit preview of what the future holds for some people and how to start thinking more as a strategist versus thinking more of an executor. So we'll go through a lot of this stuff. I've spent a good portion of the time of showing you a demo in many different shapes and forms of what all of this is. And if please at any time, this is meant to add value to the community. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Feel free to put it in the Q&A section. I'll do my best to address a lot of the stuff as we go through it. So a quick stat before we get started. 87% of enterprises missed their revenue targets in 2025. Not 50, not 60, 87%. Basically, everyone's missing overall their targets. The SDR math of today just doesn't work anymore. So 76% of sellers are missing quota in H1 2025. 46% average quota attainment, down from 52% last year, according to Forrester. 14% of reps drive 80% of their revenue. So of your sales team, 1 out of 8 is really productive. Everyone else is not. They are struggling to generate revenue. 28% of average SDRs week is spent actually selling. So if you think about that, the remainder of the time is spent researching, trying to find information, gather data, and really overall, are they even sending the right message out? To be candid, this isn't a people problem, it's a system problem. So before we get started, a quick poll. As I said, it's going to be very interactive. How is your team currently handling outbound research? 1, do you do it manually? 2, is it a mix of manual and some tools? 3, we have automation, but it's disconnected. Or 4, we barely do outbound. So I'm going to leave the poll up while you guys answer through it and kind of go through the next section to be able to get into the demo. So the problem with traditional go-to-market is that buyers spend only 17% of their buying time with vendors. 83% is self-directed, according to Gartner. SDRs average just 2 hours per day actively selling, so 28% of their week, according to Salesforce State of Sales. There's an inconsistent pipeline. So 76 of sellers missed quota in H1 2025, done by an analysis and a survey by Pavilion. And overall, what these are causing is this: how do I find the right prospect at the right time in order for me to be able to have communication that is relevant and they actually are interested to having a conversation? Because I've been able to not only go through the noise, but find a signal that is relevant for them that shows they're active in the market. So what actually this looks like if you're an SDR, this is super, let's say, overall efficient, right? So this is if you're using Claude Code, you're really trying to crank through this in the modern world. And in general, you're trying to figure out, how can I go about getting this done as fast as possible? So what you're really doing is you're going to find the right account. You're going to identify a target company matching ICP. This is going to take you about 20 to 30 minutes. And if you go through all of these different stages, from the moment you research to the moment you send one single message out to the right person, you're spending roughly 3 hours doing that. There's got to be a better way. AI was supposed to help us and speed us up. It wasn't meant to slow us down. So before we get into it, another quick question. So what is your current biggest gap in your go-to-market strategy? Is it 1, finding the right accounts at the right time? 2, is it personalization outreach at scale? So what do we mean by personalization? This isn't just the merge field, right? This isn't first name. This isn't company name. This is really understanding the hook, really understanding how you're going to communicate and capture their attention and make sure that it's completely relevant. Is it a podcast that they spoke on? Is it LinkedIn posts that they wrote on? Is it blog articles that they've written? Is it webinars that they've been on? Any public information that a really good SDR would spend time and gathering? How can you gather that and grab it and be able to send messages on it? Is it worse? Is it just keeping your CRM data clean and actionable? I think there was a report done by HubSpot that people don't even actually use their CRM the right way. Only 15 to 18% or something along the lines of that I saw that are actively using it. Or is it providing pipeline attribution to leadership? Are you able to cleanly say that, hey, our pipeline is about $1 million in revenue, and we should be able to see results of that within the next 30 to 60 days. So everyone, please go ahead and answer those questions. So now to the fun part. So what I'm going to do in the demo is I'm going to show a few things and a build-up. So I'm going to start by showing a Slack integration. Then it's going to be from there, I'm going to evolve and kind of show overall, sorry about that. So I'm going to evolve and show overall a Claude code session. Some of this was done actually a couple of hours before the meeting, and I'll walk you through the Claude code session and then show you the results. Then I will show the outputs that each one of these sessions is creating. And then lastly, I will kind of show you the platform. Okay, so let's kind of get started. We'll start with Slack. So I'm gonna write, let's see who's here today. One second, I need to pull everybody's, I can't see your names. There you are. Okay, perfect. So let's pull, let's pull Sarkis. So we'll pull Sarkis Kaladzian. Sarkis, I don't know you. Please confirm with everybody else. So I'm going to ask Chat, Iris, Research, Sarkis. Sarkis, you left. I can't research you anymore. Okay, so Sarkis is gone. Let's do Bobby Griffin. Bobby Griffin. Research Bobby Griffin before my call, and let me know who he is. He is attending our webinar. Okay. Oh, sorry, Gaffin. So thanks for fixing that. Oops. So while it's doing this and pulling the information, let me show you, it did something for Monica Craig a little bit earlier. So as you guys can see here, what it ends up doing is it will go and research her. It will verify the citations. This is an important part of overall what we've built in. It's not just assuming what the models themselves are telling you. It's going through and clicking on the links, making sure that the information is coming through and it's 100% verified and validated. It will then create an actual doc. It will tell you anything that was unverified, and it would remove that out of the process. And then it would give you a specific doc like this. So for Monica, it gave us an idea of overall what her organization was, what the company size, the product and the services that they do, any recent strategic moves overall done, who their particular customer base is, what her current title is in LinkedIn, any type of recent activity overall done, her role and responsibilities, what potentially the business pain points and challenges are. So here's hypothesis one of what potentially could be. Here are relevant signals that support this hypothesis. How we as an agency, obviously for you guys, it would be how you as a B2B enterprise, depending on your product and service, how we can support it. Additional challenges, any other relevant signals, and finally, if it's a fit or not. Also, potentially who their competitors are. So you go into the conversation armed with information. And then what are some of the advantages and why they win compared to the competitors? If you've had any SMS conversation or email exchange with them in your CRM, it would actually find that info. So you could be caught up on where you were on the last conversation. And then additionally, what are some things you should be asking in the question? So not only you, but you can also unreveal different pain points that you can potentially be solving for. And then lastly, what are the ways you can offer impact? So all of this is done autonomously, automatically. And then on top of that, you're able to kind of go through it. So I think it's running through. Bobby, we'll come back later, Bobby, once it's fully done for yours, and we'll kind of showcase that. So the next thing I want to show while that is running is the Claude Code terminal, which are the pipes behind on how it makes all of this happen. So, all right. So I started this chat a little bit earlier, and I'll walk you through exactly what it was doing through each step of the process. So here I asked overall how many people were registered. We have 140 registered. There was a gap on 37 hadn't gotten the webinar link, so it automatically invited them and ensured that they would have the webinar link. So I told it what I wanted to do, which is, hey, I want to create a contact dossier of each person. So a contact dossier is a lighter version of what I showed you a little bit earlier. And I want to understand their company, more importantly, if they were a fit for us, and so on and so forth, right? So this then shows you the game plan of how it's going to do that, what data sources it's automatically going to be pulling from. And then it moved into, can you do this in parallel? So this is one of the infrastructure changes that we've made. What this allows you to do is, if you think about ChatGPT or Claude, you're talking one session at a time. So you have to wait until that session ends, and then for you to be able to do the next session. So what Parallel does is it allows you to automatically spawn out multiple chat sessions. So you go from one chat to 5 to 10 to 15, simultaneously running and independently running. So it moves a lot faster. So instead of something taking 90 minutes to do, it'll do it in 10. Or in something taking 60 minutes to do, it'll do it in 10. And it can do it all at the same time. So we were able to go through the full list. We were able to run through everything and analyze it. And I'll show you the final results of that. Here I was asking where it's going to end up saving it. So where is the data actually itself going to be housed? And then one of my team members asked me, hey, how does the scoring model work? Can we clarify it's doing it correctly? This breaks down our general scoring. This is fully customizable, so you can create your own version of a scoring model and how you want it. But scoring, which is one of the things that we all want to do and never really get to, comes out of the box. And you can see the different signals and the different things that influence the score, particularly related to role and title and number of buying committees found, and so on and so forth. And here, this is the contact dossiers. I wanted to make sure it was totally available for you guys. So when I was done, I can show it. In addition to that, I wanted it to find some interesting stats that we can highlight, and I'll show that a little bit later. So here we were now going to save it to the sheet, and it started to doing so. So I'm now going to show the final results of all of that. So that's the pipeline. So all of that can happen behind the scenes. So normally what you would have been doing is having that conversation, let's say with Claude or ChatGPT, there would be gaps. You would have hallucination. You would not have, even if you added all the connectors, it would be missing, and it wouldn't have memory. It wouldn't remember historically all of the data that it's pulled in and the information it's pulled in. So now moving to the results of that. So what that ends up generating, one second. Finding the share button again. Here we go. Okay. So what that ends up generating is this updated sheet. So let me hide. Oops. So it ends up generating this updated sheet where it puts all the company information. It has ranks sorted it off from tier groups, A, B, C's, not a fit, and so on and so forth. In addition to that, it showed what industry they were, how much funding that they have raised, the number of employees, overall, what tools they're actively using, what scoring, and why it made that rationalization on the scoring side. So let me wrap this a little bit so you can kind of see what the logic was. On the people that it scored high, it provides their LinkedIn profile. And then lastly, it gives a game plan right off the bat. So that whole process that earlier I told you would have taken 3 hours to do was done in a whopping 20 minutes. And not just for one, obviously. So this was done for all of not only the important leads that came to this webinar today, and it's already sorted them out. It still went through everybody else and filtered out what would not potentially be relevant, or that didn't make sense, and so on and so forth, including the students that are joining us today and learning. So it was able to identify those. It was also able to identify internal team members that are kind of here, and so on and so forth. Okay. So this is the full effect of being able to have a system and an agent being able to help support you versus you manually trying to do this, one Claude code session at a time. Now, what does the results of those documents look like? Similar to before, but a lighter weight version, right? Some interesting insights here is like more professional philosophy. Remember, this is specifically being designed for outreach. So how can you approach them? How can you have a conversation? What's a message you can send out that could potentially catch their attention on a hook? And how do you work through that? It gives you a reason why they potentially joined this webinar, where they're at what the state they're at, and what to kind of watch out for, and so on and so forth. Okay. And then additionally, it gives you a good opening line if you wanted to reach out to them. I'm not sure if John is here today, but John, if you are here, please please go ahead in the message, put together if this is spot on accurate or not. But if you do watch this webinar, we will send you your own, so you will have it. So that is the full process. Now, all of this sounds great and dandy, but it seems a little all over the place, right? So what we've built is what we call the Growth OS platform. So what the Growth OS platform, and this is our live, I'm not going to show you every module today, but this is kind of a high level dashboard for you to get a sense of what the dashboard can do. This is totally multi-tenant, so it can be super customized for yourself, for your account, where you're able to go in and pull in all the contacts that your organization has. It doesn't have to be just this one person. It could be the multiple sales team, and you can coalesce it into one master account. You can then start rating that funnel, and you can say, of that group, what are they? Are they tier A, tier B, tier C? Within that, are they active or passive or cold? Cold is you really haven't engaged with them. Passive is overall like they're reading occasionally your content, they're occasionally clicking on your information. And active is they're super engaged. They're showing up to your webinars. They are downloading your content. They're visiting your website. They're responding to email, and so on and so forth. So you get a quick sense of where to zone in and where to target. On top of that, we've added buying committee, which is automatically sourced and added. So if you have a key account, you can go and grab all the different information. Key level activities, Arthur, as I called him out earlier, he had registered. So you can see his information here. And then personas. This is specifically our personas. But the personas could be much more specific to obviously your business, and so on and so forth. I don't want to get into specific details of all of these because this is our live agency one. So how does all this work? There's an agent hub that pulls in different agents. We have close to 130 agents built out that autonomously run, and I will explain that in a minute of what that means and how that's different. And then in addition to that, that allows you to not only be doing the work, but also an agent behind the scenes helping you do the work. On top of that, specifically in this module, we're actively looking and expanding and finding different organizations and adding overall their different people and their team and building contact dossiers automatically for them. So here's an example of Pinecone. We haven't worked with them. We don't know who they are, but we do know specifically all of the different team members. And Jen, is Jen, who is an executive assistant office of the CEO. She's active within us, and we can kind of quickly click on and see what she has done and where she's registered, the full trail, all the emails she's received, if she's opening it and closing it, and so on and so forth. Well, and same here with Edo as well. Okay. So that is the demo. Before I go on, I want to see if there's any questions already raised. No? Okay, perfect. So let's kind of go to the next stage. So what I just showed you, let me kind of break it down because we just went through a really fast crash course of what this graph is. Okay? And what this graph I want you to focus on is the autonomy line. This was not possible 9 months ago. So remember, we've been building and we've been working with AI for 6 years now. And the autonomy line really became available about 9 months ago, where you were able to create agent files that ran autonomously and were able to build tools and skills for them. And this would allow you to really enhance overall your productivity. Okay. So back in the day, before OpenAI released their APIs, and still in the world of hallucination, which was the first, let's say, 3 to 9 months of it, before the model started getting better, and then before grounding, which is a verification process, before projects, all of those, everyone kind of lived in this world, which is sort of table stakes, is you had your SOPs, you had Zapier, or you had N8N built out, and you were kind of doing manual automation. Then we all took a huge leap forward. We all first we all jumped into ChatGPT, right? They came out in December. Everyone, the early adopters were all over it. Then eventually Claude came out, Gemini came out. But what we became really is where we all have been spending a lot of our time in, which is roughly 45% of the businesses that we speak to are in this level, and they feel like they're doing great, right? So human productivity is improving by 1.2 to 1.4x. This is what we call pilot stage. So at this stage, you are interacting, you're kind of seeing what you can possibly be doing within the chat. Then you move on to tier 3, which is AI assisted. So at this point, you now are building, let's say, projects. They have history, they have files. It's basic RAG model. You're able to have conversations with them. Some of you are getting a little bit more advanced at this stage. You might be building skills. You might be doing MCP connections. So this is giving you more additional data. This is now allowing you to, this is about 1 out of 4 companies that we talk to. This is now allowing you to get to this 1.5 to 2.5 productivity boost. Okay. So what does that mean? So things that used to take 2.5 days to do, you can do it in 1 day. Arguably, you can do it even faster if you start running parallel and so on and so forth. Okay. So that's what kind of this means. Now, what the next level is the autonomy line. So the autonomy line now allows you to do what's called AI operated. So 10% of the companies we talk to are here. Okay. So this gives you a 2 to 4% boost. So in Claude, you can create schedules now, right? So that allows you to do that. That's a basic version of this. You can start overall creating different specific agents that do specific jobs. You take SOPs and you convert it. Some of you do it differently. You might use N8N here. You might have a workflow automation running, and it's pinged when a lead comes in and it goes through the process. But this is now semi-AI operated. You as the human are still, making sure the strategy is running efficiently and smoothly. But at the end of the day, the AI is structured as a workflow that will continuously run and do its thing. So this is where 10% of the businesses are. The next level up above that is agent-led. So what is agent-led? So now you have memory. And memory is no longer session-based memory where you hit context windows, 100,000 tokens, and you run out. That's not what I mean by memory. That's down here, okay? Memory is not the files you uploaded and it references it and it's able to pull information down. That's not memory. That again, oops, let me go back. So that again is somewhere around here, okay? So what memory now is there's different types of memory. There is session, which we talked about. There's procedural, which we talked about. But then there becomes short-term and long-term memory. What long-term memory is the facts that you wanted to remember forever. You want to know that what happened in June 2020, what happened in August 2021, what happened in May 2026, right? Specific moments in time, and has anything specifically changed because of that? And that gives it a much deeper context of understanding exactly what's happening here. Now, on top of that, you can teach it that that will always be true, right? You will always be who you are. You will be always born on a certain date. For businesses, how would this apply? This is the organization. What did they do? What are their KPIs? What are their goals? This is the, these are the services. This is the history of the organization. This is their competitive landscape. This is the industry that it's in. These are the associations that are important. These are, the departments that it has. Whatever those specific things that will always hold true and won't evolve can be saved in there. Now, the next set of memory is short-term memory, things you don't want it to always remember. You want it to every 30 days or every 60 days to question its own memory and go back and actually find new research around that. So this could be people's jobs that they have, the roles that they have. Is there any new openings? This could be, the monthly traffic patterns. Is it changing month over month or daily or weekly? And you want it to constantly be updating it. This could be the emails that's coming in, right? So it needs to be caught up on what the last form of communication was. Is it current? And so on and so forth. So once you start layering this level of intelligence into it, you start becoming much more agent-led. And what agent-led allows you now to do is it moves you from the day-to-day execution to overall the strategist. So now you can start thinking about personalization campaigns to one at scale, which you normally this would be like the typical ABM campaigns, which would be a week or two of work for you to say, this is the organization we're targeting and this is who we're going after. Let's do all of that research. Now that's easily available at your fingertips, and you can consistently be launching new campaigns and trying to adjust and optimize and move that. Now, when you start doing all of this all at once, this is where you get really impact and you start getting compounding benefits that really make you 10 to 50x more productive. So this is how we see the world. We see it in levels. We see it internally. We try to level our own team up. We say you're at level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Or we see it externally when we're talking to different clients of ours and we're trying to figure out where they're at and how we can support and help them reach level 5, which is the mountaintop. So next is, I know in the conversation I showed you guys an overall, so going back to what I kind of showed you earlier, sorry about that. Slack obviously is here. So I forgot to mention this part. Slack is obviously here. The platform I showed you gets you above the autonomy line, AI operated and eventually agent led. So that's the Growth OS platform. It gets you over here. And then I believe I showed you the Claude terminal. That was literally the inner pipings. So that's semi between this and this. It's more here. So when I showed you the Claude terminal, it was still here. The difference is obviously once you get into the platform, you have the memory, you have the automation, you have the agents, and so on and so forth. Okay. So now moving on to the next portion. So in what we are doing is we're building different modules. I think I showed you briefly contact intelligence, which grabs intent data. It looks at LinkedIn and web behavior. It builds out ICP scoring. Another element of contact intelligence is it's going to start creating autonomous outreach. So if you're using Smart Lead or if you're using Instantly, It helps you automatically create campaigns, listen to different signals, create personalization hooks that can be sent out with the information it's grabbing. And then you could be paying attention and loading back all that information into the platform. And then lastly, it's overall going to be helping you do deal intelligence. So once they actually become live into your system, it helps you figure out who's showing up on the call. If you're recording it using Fireflies, it's actually scoring you as how well you did discovery. What are the things you didn't ask? It helps you actually create the follow-up emails and the follow-up task of all the commitments that you need to do to help move the deal forward. And then it keeps track of the communication track, and it tells you, hey, it's been 7 days. Maybe we need to send a little warm, graceful nudge to see if this deal is going to move forward or not. So that's in the deal intelligence pipeline. Okay, so we're building overall for Growth OS what we call modular. And the reason we're doing that is we see the world of software evolving tremendously. So the old ways of software, which was built, the Salesforce, the HubSpot days, where you would build one CRM and you had minor abilities, and it was really human operated, and then you would put in other data into it. We see that going away. So what we really see, and what I like to call, is the world of software development is turning to be and becoming much more of like a jigsaw puzzle. Now imagine you're playing with your 3-year-old daughter and you're creating different jigsaw puzzles. And this jigsaw puzzle has 12 pieces or has 18 pieces. Now you want to do something different with your son. Now your son might need a much more complicated jigsaw puzzle. He might need a 1,000-piece one. So the world of software as we know it is changing to this format where the infrastructure is going to be critical, but software development as a whole is going to become much more customized to what you need for your specific use case and really helping you move forward. That's what Growth OS is, and that's what our vision of what we're building. So moving on, I want to ask one more poll question. So if this ran on every account in your pipeline, what would you change first? So one is that my reps would finally stop wasting time on research and just sell. Our outreach would actually be relevant, not templated. We know who's in market before our competitors do. And we'd have a real pipeline, not a forecast built on hope. All right, so we're at 11:40. Let me drink some water. So I do want to leave time for questions. So, all right, so what can you do with contact intelligence? You can identify your buying committee, right? And you can find the perfect hook, as I showed you throughout, on the different contact dossiers, and you can make the personalization of one. You can do lead scoring right off the bat. So right away, you're able to score your leads. You're able to see who you should focus on and who you shouldn't be focused on from all platforms, not one. So you can tap into your Salesforce on HubSpot. You can tap into your email. You can tap into your Smart Lead. You could tap into if you're using Klaviyo or MailChimp or whatever platform you're using to send your general emails. You can do that. You can tap into your calls. So whatever platform that exists, you can quickly tap into it, and you can build that right out of the bat for your lead scoring. And you can quickly say if you're a salesperson that likes to start with the target account, you can even do that, right? You can zone in and start. Some people like to start with the contact and go deeper. Other people like to start with the account and go deeper. So you can go in both ways. It doesn't really necessarily matter. It's designed for flexibility of how you utilize it and for you to be able to think of strategically on how you can take your outreach to another level and improve and grow your pipeline. So a little bit about some of the stats, and I told you I was going to share a little bit of some of the findings that I did a little bit earlier, right? So this slide was created literally 2 hours ago. So of the people who had registered, we kind of wanted to give you a feel of how quickly we learned a little bit about everyone, right? So there was 140 registrants, 47 companies, 13 universities, 5 funded companies representing a total of 173 million in combined capital. Oops, sorry, my mouse is acting up. 14 companies running on HubSpot or Salesforce. So they're actively trying to build a pipeline. 6 companies actively running Google ads or LinkedIn ads. So they have budget to run ad spend. 2 companies sent multiple people here. So thank you for those 2 companies. I'm glad the webinar caught your attention and you were interested in what we had to present. And then we had different schools represented here as well. And welcome to all of those people here from that are learning go-to-market. I'm excited that you're here and feel free to reach out as well. We're always hiring, looking for young, bright kids to join us. So that's, as you can see, all of that was done by Contact Intelligence, ran within 10 to 20 minutes of this webinar, all this information pulled and all the contact dossiers. So as we always like to do is we like to go, I went through a lot today. We go much deeper in our actual articles. So we can talk about our methodology with you, how we believe in these things. So we have all of our articles ready to send to you. We will be sending to everyone that's registered here today. In addition to that, I want, if you're interested in booking a follow-up call, reading your own contact dossier with me, seeing how the potential use case can be worked for you. My team members should be sharing with you right now our Calendly link. They're also going to be sharing with you our type form in both of those areas. You can easily book a call with me. Please do fill out the type form, even if you're not interested in a call. It does help us make our future webinars better. At this point, I think we've had close to, 17 webinars, thousands of people have attended. So every one of your feedbacks is actually read. It does help support us do better on all of these. So you're getting version 17, so we know what works, what doesn't work at this point. And then we'll also give you guys a playbook on how we think about go-to-market and overall how that could potentially support you guys. So as you guys are doing that, I want to give a few minutes also for Q&A. It looks like we got 15 minutes or so. I'm going to stop screen sharing so I can see all the Q&A, grab some water. So if you have any questions, please do add it there, and I will start answering all of the questions. Let me make sure I can find them. Give me 1 second. All right, Q&As. And let me also read through the chat questions too. Chat questions. Hi, Colin. Welcome from UW. Madison. Arthur, CEO of Therapy. Hello. And let me get to the question. Gaffin, sorry, I misspelled your name. I will send you your contact dossier. I just realized I didn't even show it. I'll send it to you after the call. All right, Colin asked a question. Running hundreds of autonomous AI agents can be quite expensive. Are there any use cases of agents that you think are must have for founders in their early stage startups? Colin, incredible question. Okay. So I think the mistake most people make when they're building out autonomous agents and AI agents as a whole is they still think the agent can do everything and they don't think of it as software. So what you really need to do is you need to think of it more as an agent doing certain things like judgment and not necessarily doing the actual execution part. Now, on the execution part, how do you overcome that? You overcome that by writing code. You end up writing, it might be Python, it might be Go, it might be TypeScript, it might be whatever language you are most comfortable with. So you actually end up writing specific codes that make it much more deterministic. Of course, also save you on, turns, which the models themselves will do. And then gives you also the flexibility to think about what model you need for what use cases as well too. You don't need to run out of the gate and use Opus for everything. You can sometimes use a cheaper model, or you can even sometimes use a local model hosted on a server to get to cost down actually to zero and just to hosting fees. Great question though. An addition thing that I like to do is I like to actually track everything that's happening. So how many churns is it going through? How much it's actually costing me from API tokens to actually overall data tokens, whatever it might be. And then I go back and I review that, and we kind of do agent optimization sprints to be able to lower the costs. So I hope I answered your question. The next question. Okay, Arthur, how far does the platform go in conversations with the prospect? Yes, totally configurable. You can have different ways of data that you want to be collecting. Everything we've built is super configurable for industry, for templating, for whatever you can kind of imagine. We designed it intentionally in that manner. How far does it go? Arthur, if I'm being totally transparent, it follows you all the way through the deal. Meaning you can have, if you're recording your call and you're doing your demo, it's now smart enough to know exactly what was open and what needs to be said, right? That's deal intelligence. In addition to that, it will help you kind of think through what were some of the objections that were raised and how to potentially overcome those objections. If it's a new content piece you need to send out, is it a new one pager you need to send out? It will also help you think through overall how to move the deal forward or get to a decision quicker, right? What I don't like are the zombie deals where they just sit in your pipeline for years, where you should just close it out and move on. And it kind of helps you get to that deterministic level much sooner. All right, let me look on the QA side. Okay, the pre-call research doc that you showed was long. Do you spend time reading through all of it? How do you filter through the noise? Great question. Yes, it is long. It's intentional that it's long. It's thorough. So what I normally like to do is I like to create a bunch of those for an account, right? So if I'm targeting a specific account I want to do business with, and I know the buying committee, I know there's 4 or 5 people that I normally need to be working with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a buying committee doc for each individual member. In addition to that, I'm going to get a sense of who they are, what commonality that they have, what are some of the objections or concerns that they would have. And then I now know if I need to create new content to reach out to them. If I do, I would potentially write articles, which we have another module, which we'll talk about next week. Shameful plug for our next week's webinar called Content Intelligence, where now you can use the both two modules together and write actually specific content pieces that are addressing the things that you need to be able to overcome. And then I think of strategy. That's where I spend most of my time, right? Like, hey, how do I actually want to do this outreach? What is the angle I want to actually be utilizing? And then we are able to do the outreach itself, okay? Next question, how would you measure the ROI of an autonomous agent? Fantastic question, easily. You can see the cost, you can see the turn, you can see everything specifically and how much everything does. And just like how you would measure your overall business performance, right? So there's many layers here. One is, hey, if my employee was before taking 40 hours, they were working a week, 20 of it was in this execution task. This is how much I'm paying for this specific portion. I'm freeing those 20 hours up for much more strategic goals. So that's one layer. So cost savings. The next layer is performance improvement, right? So in the past, I was maybe getting a 1 or a 5% reply, which, by the way, 5% reply is phenomenal, right? So if I was able to get that on cold, and now I'm getting an 8 to 10 or 12 or whatever it might be specifically in your industry, you can see the leverage and the lift up. So that's another area you can be measuring it. And then you could actually go straight into attributed, if you want to treat it like you would a regular marketing channel, right? Like, hey, what did it go find? What did it bring in? How did it nurture it? How did it tee it up for my salesperson? How did it close it? That's another way that you could actually be measuring it. So there's multiple layers on the calculation of the ROI. So would this work for small teams or something big in our site? Yes, it works for small teams. We're a small team, right? We are at this point single founder-led sales. I'm the main one running it. We will eventually have other salespeople. By the way, if you're a great salesperson in the crowd and looking to help sell the product, please forward your resume over to us. We would love to talk to you about it. But in general, we you can work with small, you can work with large. It's designed so it's super customizable and can easily scale up. At what point does the AI personalization cross the line? If the agent knows the behavior, spending habits, is that a way? Great question. So every information that it's pulling, it's all publicly available information. So it would have been found by an SDR person anyways, right? So what do I mean by that? So if you were on a podcast, a really good SDR would have found that podcast. Back in the day, they might have even listened to it, right? Versus now you can automatically transcribe it using Whisper and then read the transcription and really understand what it was said. Or they might have gone and read a bunch of your posts. Today, you can read a bunch of the posts all at once and find themes and voice and philosophies that are consistently coming across. Or they would have gone and read a few of your articles. Again, today, they can go read a bunch of your blog articles and get a sense of who you're targeting, how you're writing to them, and so on and so forth, right? So it hasn't necessarily changed what you would do. It has supersized it. So it has allowed you to go from being able, well, you were already the best in class were doing, but not doing it at a smaller scale, but at a much grander scale and much faster and much quicker. Let me see if any other questions. I think those are all the questions that came up. Awesome. So we have 7 minutes left. If there's no other questions, thank you everyone for joining. If you haven't connected with me on LinkedIn, please do so. If you have, please go ahead and fill out the survey as well so we can improve overall. And thank you for spending the last 55 minutes with me. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.